In Our Blood is a 4-part series from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which has just aired. It's coming up for its 4th part next week. I've seen the whole series. I'm very impressed. It is very comprehensive within an impossibility. How can you encompass this vast subject of an invisible disease that became a pandemic and particularly attacked a number of communities, including the community known as the gay community, which was mainly the male part of the gay community. What they've done is they have taken the politics, which were very important because the government had just changed in Australia. It had become a Labour government under Bob Hawke after 12 years of conservatism. And the government's health minister, who in real life was Neil Blewett, but is anonymously not involved in this production. There's a character who is obviously based on Neil Blewett. And almost from day one that AIDS became a reality, a challenge, the government set about getting together with the gay community and other communities, plus the medical community and the nursing community, to try to prevent the spread of AIDS. Not to end it, because there was no cure, and there still is actually no cure 40 years on. So what this series, In Our Blood, is trying to do is to encompass, to embrace the various threads, intertwined threads, that led to probably the best and most effective response against AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, in the world, at least in the beginning, i.e. in the early 80s. AIDS was first sort of identified, but yet not named, in mid to late 1981. The series is set mainly in 1983, 84, 85, and it looks at a number of people, including the Minister for Health, who is not Neil Blewett in this series, plus a young government advisor, played brilliantly by Tim Draxl. And it also includes various community members, including drag queens, including artists, and a lesbian couple, one of whom is a teacher, who loses her job during the series for giving out AIDS information. So this is very much about the giving of information to not to prevent a disease, but to prevent the spread of a disease. And I think it works remarkably well. The budget is not large, so you won't get large groups of extras. You will not perhaps get the top acting talent in every single role. But I think the scene that most got to me was the scene where she and her girlfriend, who is a teacher, find a man collapsed on Oxford Street, which is the main gay drag in Sydney. They take him home and they give him one of their beds. To me, this is active, call it Christianity. It's actually being altruistic. You're giving up something for someone else that you don't know and you may never see in the future. And this is one of the strengths of the series. A number of strengths of it. One is that it deals with a fascinating story, a very, very positive, heroic story of gallantry, of people of all kinds, all age groups, from different socio-economic backgrounds, as they say now. And it also involves the community in a very interesting way. It actually provides a sign that gay people of all kinds are actively involved in the community. They do this through a chorus of 4 people who play different roles throughout the series and include songs in their role playing as well. Some people find this almost disrespectful of the subject of the series. I didn't. I felt it could have been used more extensively. I think it works very well. It's theatrical, but it's also camp. It also shows the diversity of the gay community at the time. There are relationships involved, some of which split, some of which stay, some of which come together. There are deaths, but it's also about not happiness, but about aliveness. It's about a community that refuses to die, refuses to accept the negative attitudes of the more extreme parts of the Australian community at the time. It will not lie down. It's like bamboo. You know, bamboo, it goes like this way and that way, but essentially its center of gravity is very strong. And that's what I like about this series. It's got a center of gravity, not solemnity, not over seriousness. It's packed with detail. For those who weren't around in the 1980s, I think it performs a very valuable service. For those of us who were around and who survived, including myself, it is an honest and vibrant reminder that when the chips are down, people come to the rescue. People did not die alone. They did have support, even if their families rejected them, even if their lovers rejected them. The nursing staffs, the community groups, the advice lines, they were all there. They just were set up because there was a need. They didn't do it because of fame. They didn't do it because of celebrity or virtue signaling. They just did it. We came together. We formed alliances. We actually respected other people's opinions and points of view. And boy, how effective that was, because we created a bastion against a sweeping tide of invisible hatred. It exposed hatred of gays, but it also exposed people's bodies to all sorts of opportunistic infections. And the nurses and the carers and the doctors, they saw a lot of very healthy young people come to them with diseases, opportunistic. They'd leave, having been receiving the care for the treatment, then they'd come back with another disease. They'd leave and they'd come back with another disease until they came back to die. Imagine the closeness of the relationships of the caregivers and the strain on them when they saw the deterioration over weeks, months of these healthy young people. Did we lose the flower of our generation? Well, of course we lost so many people. For us survivors, this series is more than a TV series. I watched it with friends, obviously from my age group. We are all here to tell the tale. It brought up many things in our personal lives, our own attitudes to sex, to deterioration of our bodies, and to, of course, fronting up about who we were to people. It did bring a lot of people to the consciousness that being an out gay gave you a lot of protection, as well as a feeling of community with other people. My judgment, my critical judgment, is suspended with In Our Blood because it is so personal to me. I think it works extremely well. I would advise everyone to see it. AIDS is still killing thousands of people around the world. There is still no cure. What if we get something else? What if something else comes along? Are we prepared? Are we going to stick together? Are we going to put aside our personal identity politics to deal with the practical realities of changing sheets and washing sheets and wiping people's bums and caring and kissing them and loving them in the way that we're supposed to do when we're well and healthy? I do hope so.